In the stillness of the Egyptian midnight, something strange hung in the air. The wind blew drier than usual, and the fields that had danced under the gentle breeze just the night before now seemed to hold their breath, as if the earth itself knew that something terrible was about to happen. And then, just as the sun threatened to rise on the horizon, the sky began to darken. But not from storm clouds. It darkened from a colossal, living, pulsing swarm. Millions of flying creatures covered the heavens, turning the dawn into darkness. The locusts had arrived. How can we understand such a specific plague, so precisely directed, that came with such devastating power? Why were locusts chosen as one of the 10 divine manifestations against Egypt? And what does this plague reveal, spiritually, about cycles of destruction, harvest, and divine authority? This is the 8th plague of Egypt, and its symbolism goes far beyond the mere image of a destroyed crop. It speaks of broken limits, of the end of human arrogance in the face of the sacred, and of how the universe responds when a heart insists on remaining hardened. Before the locusts arrived, God warned. The message was clear, sent to Moses. "Go to Pharaoh, for I have hardened his heart and the hearts of his officials, so that I may perform these signs among them, and so that you may tell your children and grandchildren what I did in Egypt." This was not merely a punishment, it had a purpose. What was about to happen was not just an ecological disaster. It was an eternal lesson about power, humility, and remembrance. Once again, Moses stood before the Egyptian throne. His expression did not carry fury, but rather the weight of a divine mission. He warned, "If you do not let my people go, tomorrow I will bring a swarm of locusts that will cover the land. They will consume what remains from the last plague and will even fill your palaces." It was an ultimatum. And once again, Pharaoh's pride prevailed. Even after 7 plagues had ravaged his kingdom, waters turned to blood, frogs, lice, flies, livestock pestilence, boils, and hail mixed with fire. The ruler's heart remained sealed, as if no evidence would ever be enough to make him bow before the God of Israel. Then, the following day, the wind began to blow from the east. Throughout that morning and afternoon, a dry heat swept across the Egyptian lands. Nature seemed to pause, and then at the exact moment, not before, not after, a living cloud appeared on the horizon. It was not dust, it was not mist. It was locusts, millions, billions, an army of buzzing wings hovering, advancing with precision. It was as if the earth had summoned its own executioners. They covered everything. No plant was left untouched, not a single leaf, not a single flower. The grass, the palm trees, the fruit-bearing trees, everything that hail had not destroyed, the locusts devoured. Within hours, Egypt had become a desert of silent ruins. The greens vanished, the food was gone, the sustenance was consumed before the helpless eyes of a people who now began to grasp the magnitude of the spiritual battle they were facing. And beyond hunger, there was despair. For this was not merely about material loss. There was something terrifying in the way the locusts moved, as if guided by a superior force, as if they knew exactly what to destroy and what to leave behind. They were more than insects, they were messengers. Imagine, for a moment, the sound. Millions of wings flapping at once, the screeching noise of stems being devoured, the incessant rustling, covering everything like a grim symphony. There was no escape. They entered through the cracks in the houses, the barns, even the temples. Not even the Egyptian gods could stop them. This is where the script of the plague reveals its deeper layer. Egypt was not merely punished, it was confronted with its own fragility. The most powerful empire of the time, one that believed it ruled the land, the skies, and the rivers, was reduced to impotence before tiny insects. Pharaoh, under pressure from his own advisors, finally relented, at least outwardly. He called Moses and Aaron and said, "I have sinned against the Lord your God and against you." Forgive my sin once more, and pray to the Lord to take this deadly plague away from me." He acknowledged the destruction, but he still did not truly repent. Moses, in his sacred mission, prayed. And then, like a dance choreographed by heaven, a new wind began to blow, this time from the west. It carried the locusts into the Red Sea, cleansing Egypt as if closing a cycle. But Pharaoh's heart hardened once again. Even after the deliverance, he did not let the people go. This plague, like all the others, carries profound symbolism. The locusts are symbols of consumption, of the urgency of time, of forces that will not wait. They show us that when warnings are ignored repeatedly, the response comes with force, and that it is not enough to plead for mercy, just to relieve the pain. True deliverance requires inner transformation. How many times in our own lives do we insist on keeping our hearts hardened, even in the face of clear signs that we need to change? How often does God send us gentle warnings, then more intense ones, and still we choose denial, resistance, delay? This story is ancient, but it still echoes within us. The locusts may have devoured Egypt, but they also represent all that comes to consume what was left untreated, unhealed, unresolved. That is why this plague should not be seen merely as punishment, but as an urgent call to listen, to awaken, to act. Egypt had the chance to set free, to yield, to surrender to the light, but it chose to keep the chains of arrogance. And so it reaped destruction. If this story moved you, if something in your heart was stirred by this tale, ancient yet so relevant, I invite you to subscribe to the channel now. Here, every video is a portal to deep reflections, stories that echo through the soul, and messages you may need to hear. Turn on notifications and come with us to uncover the sacred mysteries still alive among the pages of time.